Hey, welcome everybody. It's so exciting to be with you here today. This is a really exciting topic. We're going to be talking to you about child tax credits and how, as a traditional non-tax filer, you could sign up for these new child tax credits. We're joined today by two of my colleagues, Rachel Holtzman, who's currently an intern with us this summer. She's a dual degree student at UNC School of Law and Duke University. And Robert Hill, a staff attorney in the Greensboro office here at Legal Aid in North Carolina. We thank the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities for some of the materials that you're going to see presented to you today. They've done excellent work trying to promote this child tax credit to the public, and we hope to do that as well. So I'm going to hand it over right now to Rachel and Rob, and please ask questions in the chat box, and hopefully we'll get to some of your questions at the end. Again, we're excited to bring this program to you today. So take it away, Rachel and Rob.
Thanks, Brian. So like Brian said, today we're going to be talking about the child tax credits, or perhaps it might be easier to call them the child tax payments. We'll get to that in a moment. So we're going to talk about what those are, who's eligible, and when you can start getting those payments. And then Rachel will talk about the child tax credit non-filer tool, what that is, who's eligible, how to use it. And then I'll finish this out with the to talk about the child tax credit update portal, what that is and who can use it. So what is the child tax credit? First, this is just a brief overview, and I encourage everybody to go take a look at the recent video my colleague Dietrich McMillan made on this subject that goes into much greater detail about all the eligibility requirements. For now, though, for our purposes, I'd like to talk about how the child tax credit is effectively a monthly child payment that the government will be sending to eligible families for each child. This is not a loan, this is cash in your pockets. So it's called the child tax credit because, like in the past, it's the same child tax credit that existed previously, but this year it's a lot different. And it's different in two big ways, among other ways. The first is that this year it's a lot more. You can receive up to $3,600 per child that's under 6 years old, or $3,000 per child that's over 6 years old and under 18, or is up to 17 years old. And then the second major difference is that unlike other tax credits, or unlike most tax credits, this tax credit you can receive in advance as monthly payments. So in the past, you would get the child tax credit as part of your tax return or tax refund, and it would be about $2,000 per child or less, depending on your situation. This year, it'll be a lot more, and this year you'll be able to receive it in monthly payments. So who's eligible for these child payments? The maximum annual income you can make and still qualify is $150,000 a year in 2020 if you were married and filed jointly, $112,500 if you're filing as head of household, and $75,000 if you're filing as a single parent. So again, just to reiterate, if you're a single parent making under $75,000, then you should definitely take a look at this program because you could be eligible for up to $3,600 per child, which comes out to about $300 a month per child. Also look at it if you're around those amounts because it starts to phase out above those amounts, but you still may be eligible for partial child tax credit payments. And what's really exciting about this also is that you can be eligible even if you haven't filed a tax return in 2019 or 2020. And Rachel will go into more detail about how to get it if you haven't filed a tax return. And also, you don't need to have made any recent income at all. You can still get the full amounts of your child payments that you're eligible for if you have $0 in recent income. And even if you don't have a social security number, you could still be eligible for these because as long as you have an ITIN number and your child has a social security number, you could be eligible to receive these payments. So when can you get the child payments? Well, the first monthly payments already went out. They went out on the 15th of July, just last week. And the next monthly payments are going to be going out every month on the 15th from now until the end of the year. Now, don't worry if you haven't signed up yet, if you haven't gotten your first payment on the 15th, or you haven't used the non-filer tool to sign up, it's not too late and you're still going to be eligible for the full amounts of benefits. They'll just adjust it depending on when you file. And also you can elect to receive your $3,600 or $3,000 or however much you're eligible for. You can elect to receive it in lump sum payments at the end of the year, and then you'll receive the first half of the lump sum payments at the end of the year, and then receive the second half of the lump sum payment when you file your taxes in the spring. Or like I said before, alternatively, and what most people, it appears, are signing up for, and is the default, is to receive them as advanced monthly payments, where you receive $300 or around about that amount, depending on how much you're eligible for and how many kids you have per child every month. Okay, so let's talk about an example to illustrate this. So we have Mary. She's a single mom who makes about $10,000 a year. Mary has an ITIN, but she doesn't have a social security number. Mary usually does not have to file her taxes, and she didn't file her taxes in 2019 or 2020. And she has 2 kids. They both have their own social security numbers, and they live with her for more than half the year. Her youngest child, George, is 2 years old. Since George is under 5, that means that he can, or under 6 rather, 5 or younger, it means she'll be able to receive $3,600 for George. Mary's oldest child, Liam, is 10 years old. And since he's in that different age bracket, she'll be eligible to receive $3,000 a year for Liam. In other words, Mary is eligible to receive $6,600 per year for her 2 kids, or about $575 a month if she elects for the monthly payments. So again, that's $575 a month for 2 kids in this situation, or more, depending on her situation. This means that she'll be able to get, she opts for the lump sum payments, $3,300 in December by using this NonFiler tool and electing to receive the lump sum payments. And she can get the other half, the second half of the amount that she's owed when she files her taxes in the spring. And so now I'd like to turn it over to my colleague Rachel so she can talk about the NonFiler tool.
Great, thanks so much, Rob. Y si ustedes hablan español, también nosotros vamos a poner unos recursos en los comments para ustedes, porque ustedes también pueden conseguir ese recurso. So welcome everybody. We are super excited to have you here and to talk about this NonFiler tool. So what is the NonFiler tool? It is an online tool for working families or for unemployed families who do not file their 2019 or 2020 taxes, so that y'all can get these advanced monthly payments of these advanced monthly child payments. And as Rob mentioned earlier, this is for a lot of families around the country, a lot of families around North Carolina. So if you're married, you can make up to $150,000 and still qualify. If you're filing taxes as head of household, or if you would file taxes as head of household, you can make up to $112,500. And if you are single, then you can make up to $75,000 and still get these child payments into your pocket for you and your family. So who's eligible? So anybody who was not required to and who has not filed a 2019 or 2020 tax return, anyone who has a social security number or an ITIN. And so again, it is okay if you do not have a social security number. Anyone who lives in the United States for more than half of the year and who has a qualifying child. And a qualifying child does not necessarily have to be your biological child. It can be your child. It can also be your grandchild, your stepchild, an adopted child, a younger sibling, a step sibling, or their descendant, or even a foster child. As long as that child will be 17 or younger by the end of this year, December 31st, 2021, lives with you for at least half of the year, has a social security number. The child does have to have a social security number, even though the adult does not, and is a dependent for tax purposes. So how do I sign up? So the NonFiler form, this online tool that we're talking about, it takes about 15 or 30 minutes to complete if you have all these documents. So if you're watching this video afterwards and you can pause the video, feel free to go ahead and pause the video, get these documents, and then come do this with me as I'm going along. You're welcome to pause it as you go step by step and to fill it out as you watch the video. So what you're going to need either a computer or a cell phone with access to the internet. It can be either data or Wi-Fi, whatever you have available to you. And it can be a cell phone, but you should know if you do it on your cell phone, the sizing can, it doesn't resize for your cell phone, so you may have to scroll back and forth. So if you have access to a computer, it might be a little bit easier to see. You're going to need to have your full legal name with you, your social security number or ITIN, and then the social security number of the qualifying children who you're filing for these child payments for, your date of birth, your mailing address, your email address, and those are the required documents and the required things you need. It's optional if you have a bank account or a routing number, you should have that information available with you too, because then you can get direct payments of these child payments into your bank account. It's quicker, it's a little bit more secure, and we do recommend it if you have a bank account and routing number. We should mention some folks have a separate bank account for some of their cash benefits like Social Security, disability. If you do have a separate bank account for those benefits, you should use your other personal bank account for these benefits and keep that money separate. But if you have one bank account, then that's great. Let's go ahead and get that bank account routing number and we can use that for this. Just a quick reminder, so this form does time you out after 20 minutes. So it's, if you're working on it and let's say you realize you don't have a document and so you just keep your computer up and you go and you try to get your document, you come back half an hour later, the website's going to log you out. You're going to see this screen that you see on the top right hand part of the screen right now. It just says we've logged you out. We do this automatically. If that happens, it's totally fine. It's not a problem. You won't be locked out of the system. You just log in again and you'll be able to start right back up. Okay, so to get started, first you're going to go to this website that's on the screen. We're going to put this website into the chat and we'll make sure it's also in the comments. So go ahead and go to this website as step one. You're going to scroll down on the website to the bottom where you see this blue button that says use the NonFiler sign up tool. Go ahead and click that. Great, then it's going to take you to a new website. So this website is called freefilefillableforms.com. It's a little bit of a tongue twister, but we can promise you this is the official website to get your child payments. Even though it does not end in irs.gov, it ends in .com. This is the official website that you're going to use to fill out your information in a secure way to get the child payments for you and your family. So once you get to this website, you're going to go ahead and scroll to the bottom and click Get Started. Okay, you're going to be taken to a new page, and this is the page where you get to create your account. So you're going to start by putting in an email address, and this does need to be an email address that you have access to right now. And that's because you're going to need to verify your account using this email address. And so you need to have the password with you, and you're going to need to be able to access it. But it can be any email address. You're also going to need to confirm the email address, so just type it again in the second box. Then it's going to ask you for a username. So this username can be anything. You just want to pick something that you can remember. And if you do use something that somebody else has used, it'll just give you a little message. It'll say, hey, somebody else has used this username. Can you pick a new one? And that's fine. It's no problem. You can just pick a new username that works for you. Underneath this, you see it asks for phone and it says recommended. That's because it's not mandatory. It is just recommended that you include a phone number. So a phone number can be helpful if you ever forget your password and get locked out of your account. Your phone can be used to help you quickly get access to your account again, but it is not required in order to get your child payments. Then it's going to ask for a password. So this password has to have both uppercase and lowercase letters. It has to have at least 8 characters. It needs a number and it needs a symbol. And you can go ahead and try something if you're not sure if it works. The website will tell you if you need to change it. And we recommend, again, this is something that you'll remember and that you write this down somewhere and keep it in a safe place. You'll need to retype the password below, make sure it's the same password. And then you have the option, there's a box that says, remember me. So if you're the only person who uses your laptop or your cell phone, then that's great. And you can click remember me and it'll just be a little bit quicker next time when you're trying to access the website. But if you are sharing your computer or your cell phone with somebody else, we don't recommend that you click this button. And then once you're done with all of that, you'll go ahead and you will click create account at the bottom of your screen. Great, this is going to take you to a page to check your phone for a code. So you see it says we sent a code to, and then your phone number should be listed there, and it should be the same phone number that you put before if you put a phone number before. If you didn't put a phone number in, you will not see this screen. So you will get a text message to your phone that's going to have a 6-digit code. So it could be, it's going to be 6 numbers, and you're going to take those numbers and you're going to type them in to where it says enter the code. And I should mention the red text is what we put in just to help explain, but on your screen, you're not going to see this red text. So go ahead and enter in the code, and then you're going to click continue. You're going to be taken to the next page, which is going to show your account confirmation. Once again, the red text here is what we put in to explain it. But for you on your screen where it says user ID, it will show the user ID that you put in on that first page. And it's also going to show the email address that you put in on the first page. You don't need to do anything here. You just take a look, make sure it looks good, and then you can go ahead and click continue. Okay, so now we are actually, you're going to go back to the website, and instead of creating a new account, this time you're going to sign in with the username and password that you just made. When you sign in, it's going to bring you to this screen that you see right now. And the first thing you want to do is you just want to check and make sure that it says NonFiler sign up tool. And that's because the IRS has used a similar website for other things in the past. And we just want to make sure that you're getting the child payments instead of trying to sign up for something else. So assuming it does say NonFiler sign up tool, which it will if you follow the links that we posted earlier on in the PowerPoint, you're going to get to this page that has step 1 to fill out your tax information and step 2 to e-file your tax forms. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to fill out if you are single or if you are married and filing jointly. It's required that you fill in one of these boxes. We will mention that if you are head of household, you should click single. And if you're married at all, you do have to click married filing jointly. They don't actually have an opportunity for you to click married filing separately. Next, you're going to put in your first, middle, and last name, and also put in your social security number, or if you don't have a social security number, that's totally fine. You can put in your ITIN, which is the individual identification number. And then also if you're filing jointly with your spouse, you'll put in that information for your spouse as well. Next, you're going to put in your home address. If you don't have a mailbox and instead you use a PO box, that's completely fine. And you can just go ahead and put that PO box information there. And if you do not have a permanent address or a PO box where you get mail, then you might consider asking a community organization that you're close with and that you trust, like a church or a homeless shelter, if you could use their information. But you should know that any address you put here will be used to send you your checks or your prepaid card if you do not put in bank information. So that's something for you to think through as you're deciding on your address. And lastly, at the bottom, under standard deduction, there's an option to click that someone can claim you as a dependent or someone can claim your spouse as a dependent. You should click either of those if they are true for you. However, you should know that if either you or your spouse can be claimed as a dependent, then you are not eligible to receive these child payments. Now you're going to scroll down on that same page and you're going to see this screen that you see in front of you now. So at the top, it is dependents, and here you're going to fill out all the information for the kids who are your dependents. So again, remember, this does not necessarily have to be a biological child. So first you want to put in their first name, last name, social security number, their relationship to you. And on the right-hand side of the screen, we included a screenshot of the drop-down menu of all of the possibilities that you have to explain their relationship to you. Their IP PIN, which is something that most of y'all won't have. And if you don't have it, you can just leave it blank. If you have this, this is something that the IRS has sent to you because you've experienced identity theft. So if you have an IP PIN for the dependent, go ahead and put it in. And then if this kid qualifies to receive the child tax credits because of the criteria that Rob and I were explaining earlier, go ahead and mark that off. So you'll notice that there are 4 lines here for dependents, but some of y'all may have more than 4 dependents who you're eligible to receive these child payments for. So if that's the case for you, no problem at all. You'll see there's a little checkbox underneath that says, if you have additional dependents, check this box and add them here. So go ahead and check the box, click add. It's going to bring you to a new screen with a lot more lines. And go ahead and just fill it out for every child who is a dependent for you and who you are eligible to receive these child payments for. When you're done filling that out, you'll just click save. It'll bring you right back to this screen with that information showing up. Next, it's going to ask you for the recovery rebate amount. So this is optional, and this is just if you didn't get the full first or second stimulus checks from last year in 2020, you can enter the amount that you are still owed here. But if you got all of that, you can just leave this blank. Next, it's going to ask you for banking information. Once again, like I mentioned earlier, if you don't have a bank account, that's completely okay. You will get either a paper check or a prepaid card sent to the address that you listed on the earlier screen. But if you do have a bank account, we recommend that. Direct deposit is the quickest and safest way to get your money. But if you don't have a bank account, you can actually use Cash App, Venmo, or PayPal, and you might consider opening an online bank account as well. So those are all options to consider. And lastly, once again, for you, it's going to ask about this identity protection PIN. Just like for your dependents, if you don't have this, it's totally fine. You can just skip it. If you do have it because you've experienced identity theft, then the IRS will have sent this to you in the past, and you're going to just go ahead and put that number in for you or for your spouse if you're filing jointly. So once you're done with this, you're going to go ahead and click continue to step 2. All right, step 2. So this is where you e-file your tax forms. So under personal verification for A, you'll see it's going to ask for what's called last year's AGI. AGI is just the way that IRS essentially calculates your income. And so if you didn't file taxes last year, you're going to just go ahead and enter 0 into this box. And then you can ignore part B entirely, which asks for last year's self-selected signature PIN, which you would only have if you filed last year's taxes. But if you didn't file taxes last year, then where it says 0 in red on the screen, go ahead and type 0, and then you're done with this, and you can skip part B. Now scroll down and you'll see where it says electronic signature. It's going to auto-populate, meaning it'll automatically fill in where it asks for today's date. So this screenshot came from the 19th of June, so you'll see it says 6/19/2021. But on your computer, whatever day you're working on it, it'll show that day automatically. So here, it's required that you enter in a 5-digit PIN, so that's part C. The only requirement for the PIN that you pick is it cannot be 00000, and it cannot be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Anything else is fair game. So once again, just make sure you pick something that's going to be easy for you to remember, and it will help if you write it down and put it in a safe place in case you forget. Also, you're going to need to put in your date of birth. And I should mention that the 5-digit PIN and the date of birth, you'll need to also fill this out for your spouse if y'all are filing jointly. Everything else on this page is actually optional. So once again, the cell phone number, if you have a cell phone number, then we do recommend you put it in. If you don't, it's okay to leave it blank. And that's the same for the bottom section, E, F, G, and H, which asks for driver's license or state issued ID information. If you or your spouse have that, you can put it in, but it's optional. So if you don't have it, it's completely okay to leave it blank. It's not going to affect your ability to receive these child payments. So then at the very bottom where it says email verification, it'll say filing status emails will be sent to, and then it'll show your email there. What you need to do now is to verify your email address. So underneath it says update your account, that blue link. You're going to go ahead and click that to verify your identity. So that's going to take you to this page up at the top where it says update account for non-filer sign up tool. And it's going to show your username, your email address. And if you entered in a phone number, it'll show it as well. So you're going to click, it's a little small, but right next to your email address, there's some blue text that says verify email. You'll want to go ahead and click that. And it'll bring you to this next screen, which is at the bottom here, that has your user ID and your email address, and this blue button that says send verification email. You're going to want to go ahead and click send verification email. Now's the part where you need to have your email. So go ahead and log into your email and check your inbox. This is an important time I'll go ahead and mention. This email may come to your spam, so make sure that you check your spam. But this email will always come from the same email address that we see right now up on the screen. So the name will show up as NonFiler signup tool, and the email address will show up as consumer_service@freefilefillableforms.com. And you'll remember this is the website, freefilefillableforms.com, that the government is using for you to get these child payments. So this is the only email address that will be sending you information about your child payments. It will not come from another email address. So go ahead and open up the email, and it may take a few minutes to get to your inbox. But when it comes, go ahead and open it up, and you'll see we circled in red, it says confirm my account's email address. So go ahead and click that. When you've clicked the link, it's going to bring you to a confirmation screen, which you can see on the bottom of the page with a green check mark, which shows that your email address has been verified. So yay. At this point, you can just click continue to keep on going. At this point, it's going to bring you back actually to the non-filer form that you've been working on. When I did this, actually, I needed to sign back in. If that happens to you, don't worry at all. Totally fine. You can sign back in and just scroll back to where you were. So scroll all the way to the bottom and click the blue button that says continue to e-file. Now you're going to see this image that we have up at the top. So if you've entered in all of the necessary information, you'll see this verification page that says complete CAPTCHA to file. Essentially, this is just a code. A CAPTCHA is just a code that shows up on your computer that you're going to need to type in order for them to know that you're a human and essentially not a robot. So on this screen, it says R32EG, but on your screen, it's going to show something else. Type the code that you see on your screen into the box underneath, and then you're going to click submit. Once you click submit, you're going to get to this bottom screen where it says ready to e-file. There's going to be a disclosure statement. Go ahead and read that disclosure statement, check the I agree box, and then on the bottom right, you can click transmit my return. And then you're done. Congratulations. So at this point, after you submit your form, you're going to get an email. Once again, make sure to check your spam, and it will confirm that you've successfully submitted your form. And later, within 48 hours, so 2 days, you'll get an email from the IRS that says whether or not your form has been accepted or rejected. There are a few reasons, and once again, these emails will come from the same email address that's up here on the screen. If it is rejected, it's going to say what it says up here. So non-filers enter payment info, return rejected, action needed. That'll show up as the subject line of the email. If that happens, that's okay. It may be that, for example, if you have 2 last names and you only entered 1, you might just need to change your application so that it lists both of your last names. It could be that you entered in your birthday wrong by accident, and that's fine. Just see what the email says that you need to fix, and then you can fix it. However, you may get you may be rejected if, for example, you have actually already filed your 2019 or 2020 taxes. And maybe you forgot, and so it'll tell you that you've already filed your taxes, and so this form is not for you, since this form is for folks who have not filed their taxes. Okay, and so with that, I'm going to hand it over to Rob to talk about a second website that is called a child tax credit update portal.
Thanks, Rachel. That was great. So the child tax credit update portal is a totally separate website from the one Rachel was just describing. And this one is used primarily to check your eligibility, check the status of your payments, and unenroll from the monthly payments and get the lump sum instead, if you prefer. In other words, this is the website you go to manage your child tax credit payments or to check your status and other things like that. So who's eligible to use it? Essentially, anybody who is eligible for child payments or thinks that they might be eligible for child payments should definitely consider looking at this website and consider making an account so that they can check the status of their payments and otherwise check on their child tax credit application. To get started on this one, you'll need a few different things. Unlike the last one, you'll most likely need both a computer and a cell phone to be able to complete this, unfortunately, since you'll need to take some pictures of your ID, and a lot of computers don't have a high enough definition camera to take the picture. But in addition to a computer and a cell phone, you'll need your social security number and a photo identification, a driver's license, passport, whatever you have available. So the child tax credit update portal, how do you sign up? Well, you go to this website. We've made a shorter link here, and we'll drop that in the chat. You go here and it'll look like this that you see on your screen. And then once you're there, you scroll down and you click this manage advanced payments button. And then that will take you over to an ID.me login page where you'll either create a new ID.me account or use an existing one. Some people have existing ID.me accounts because it's a common website, or more common now than it used to be, that some governmental agencies are using for a host of things. So if you've received unemployment benefits recently, you may have been required to create an ID.me account. And I believe other cash benefit programs have similarly followed the ID.me trend. So check to see if you already have an account. But if you don't, just follow the instructions there to make one in order to access your update portal. So the full process of accessing the CTC update portal is a little bit involved. Like I said, there's a few different steps to it. And so we've put together, if you might go to the next slide, we've got a link here for another website you can go to where you can look at how to do the step-by-step for ID.me in much greater detail with pictures for each step to go along the way. And I definitely, again, recommend that you do that so that you can check the status of your payments and your eligibility and make any modifications that you might need to make to your program or to your application rather. That's it. I think we can turn to questions now if anybody has any questions.
Hey guys, I don't see any questions in the chat box, but I know we've had some common questions that you guys have put together on these slides ahead. So let's start there, and then if any questions come in, we'll address them.
Sure, yeah. We anticipate that this video will be most useful, as Rachel said, for people who are using the website and following along with Rachel as she does the step-by-step of the NonFiler tool. So hopefully these questions can answer a few things that might crop up in advance after this live video is over. So first question, Rachel, I missed the July 15th deadline. Can I still get the advanced child payments?
You sure can. So no matter when you sign up, you can still get the advance payments. It's completely okay if you haven't signed up yet. So essentially, no matter how much you qualify for in total, you can get half of that this year. And so that amount will be divided up into even payments for all of the months left in the year. So if you have already signed up, you would have already gotten a July one and you'll get equal payments for the rest of the year. But if you don't sign up until August, September, October, or November, you'll still get that full half amount just divided up into even payments for the remaining months. And just as a reminder, you'll get the second half of your child payments or child tax credits in the spring of next year when you file your taxes.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, so Rob, will the child payments be taxed as income? How about if I'm receiving federal benefits or assistance, is it going to affect my eligibility for that?
No, this is one of the really exciting part of the program is that these payments are not counted as income for most, I believe all currently, other federal benefit programs. So that includes SNAP, WIC, Social Security disability benefits, public housing, Medicaid, and we believe unemployment insurance as well. They should not count as income for those purposes. And
just a technical caveat regarding that too. So it's not going to count as income. But if you still have those resources available to you after 12 months, it may count as a resource for some of these programs. So
Exactly. Yeah.
just a little technical caveat, but this is great news for public benefit beneficiaries, that this is not going to count as income, these monthly checks.
Certainly, and as Brian said, this will count as a resource or the total amount of cash you have on hand for certain programs if you keep it in your bank account for a full 12 months. We anticipate this might be most relevant for individuals on SSI, Social Security income, and Social Security insurance, because the resource limit for that program is typically $2,000. So if you exceed $2,000 for that program, you're often over the resource limit there. So because it has a lower resource limit, if you're on SSI, definitely be aware of that and avoid keeping this money in your bank account for more than 12 months so that it's not counted as a resource. We also recommend that if you get cash benefits like TANF or SSI, as Rachel said earlier, you try to keep it in a separate account, bank account if possible. It's not necessary, but if possible, it's best not to commingle the funds. Okay, so Rachel, in addition to the child payments and stimulus checks, does the portal also work for other tax credits I may be eligible for, like the EITC?
It does not. And so the EITC, the Earned Income Tax Credit, you cannot get that through filing this NonFiler portal. The portal is only going to work, and the portal being this NonFiler tool that I talked through earlier, it's only going to work to help you get your child payments. And as I mentioned earlier, also, if you did not get the full amount of your first or second stimulus checks, which are also sometimes called economic impact payments or EIPs, you can get that through this form, but you're not going to be able to get other tax credits through this NonFiler portal. And so, Rob, is the IRS going to reach out to me by email with any attachments to download or links to click about the child payment? Should I be keeping an eye out for emails from the IRS?
Not at all. For this child tax credit payment program, no, the IRS will not be reaching out to you by text, email, social media, not be calling you and asking for any personal or financial information for your child tax credit payments. The only email address the IRS will use to contact you is the customer_service@freefilefillableforms.com. So that's the only email address you should be looking for any pertinent information about the CTC program. If you do get an email from a different email address or a phone call or anything like that, asking for financial information or talking about your eligibility for CTC, we recommend that you report it to the IRS by forwarding it to phishing@irs.gov and deleting the email. If you have any questions about the status of your payment, though, or you get any of those things that make you question the status of your payments, you can always go to the CTC update portal that I described earlier to check on things and confirm for your own peace of mind how your child tax credit payments are being processed. So Rachel, what if I filed my 2019 taxes, but not my 2020 taxes?
Yeah, so if this describes your situation, the IRS may actually use the information that you put in for your 2019 taxes to send you your child payments. So go ahead and check your bank account and see if you've already received the first set of child payments, which would have been sent out July 15th. But if you haven't gotten any payments, or if you have, but actually your household information has changed, like you have more or fewer dependents, or your income has changed, then we recommend you still fill out the NonFiler tool that I explained earlier with your updated information. And this is important because you want to make sure that the government knows exactly how much money you're eligible to receive for these child payments.
Great. Okay, so I have a tough one for you at the end here. What if, because family relations are sometimes fluid and complicated. So what if my ex-spouse and I share custody of our child, but we don't file our taxes together? Who gets the child payment then?
Yeah, so only one parent is allowed to get the child payments. So usually the way that it works is whichever parent has the child for over half of the year, and this is considered the custodial parent, that parent gets, or I should say that adult, because it may not be the child's parent, but that adult can get the child payments. And this is regardless of whether or not the custody agreement says that this is the main parent, but if that child is living with that adult for over half the year, that adult can get the child payments for that child. But there are two exceptions. So the first is if the custodial parent, again, that's the parent who the child is living with for more than half the year. If the custodial parent wants to, they can decide to allow the non-custodial parent to get this money. So to do that, the custodial parent has to do two things. For the advanced payments, they're going to have to disenroll from advanced payments, and they're going to use that CTC update portal, which is the portal that Rob spoke about earlier. And then to make sure that the non-custodial parent gets the second half of the money in the spring, this parent is going to need to sign the IRS form 8332 for the non-custodial parent and give it to them. And the non-custodial parent will attach it to their 2021 tax return in 2022. So there's sort of two steps there. First, to disenroll from the advance payments now, and second, to make sure the IRS knows that for taxes in the spring, you still want the non-custodial parent to get those child payments. Now, the other situation is if you and your ex, for example, share custody of a child, and the child spends exactly half of their time with you and exactly half of their time with the other adult. So there is no custodial parent who the child spends more time with. Then the IRS will look to whichever parent has the higher income, and that's using AGI, this adjusted gross income measure. And that parent qualifies for the child payments. And this is what the IRS calls the tiebreaker rule. So that's just something that you should keep in mind if that situation applies to you.
Great, thanks.
Great. Well, I don't see any other questions in our chat box here. It looks like you have up before us, Rachel, some helpful links that people can rely on as resources. Can you tell us what these links are?
Yeah, absolutely. So this first one is the NonFiler portal, which is the tool that I was talking through earlier. So the two links you see here are going to bring you to the exact same page. One of them is just a little bit shorter, so it might be easier to write down or type, but they're the same website. The next set of links is for the child payments update portal, which is what Rob spoke with us about earlier. And once again, the two links will bring you to the exact same website. The first one's just a little bit shorter, so it might be easier to write down or type. And then the last one that we have is actually Legal Aid of North Carolina attorney McMillan's Facebook video that she did a week ago called American Rescue Plan Act 2021 Child Tax Credit, that talks a little bit more, goes into a little bit more detail about who is eligible. And then on this next page, we have just a few more resources with some free help if you want step-by-step help. The first set is in English. So you see free help with child payments will bring you to this website. And then the second one is free help with filing taxes. And I should note that there's a slight error on that second website. It should say www.getyourrefund.org/EN. And that's because you'll notice down below, it's the same links, but in Spanish. Entonces, si usted y su familia habla español, también hay ayuda para ustedes y la ayuda es gratis y que se trata de los créditos tributarios por hijos y también que se trata de ayuda de la declaración de los impuestos. Entonces, si ustedes hablan en español, ustedes pueden usar esos sitios de web para recibir información sobre ustedes.
Great. Thank you so much, Rachel and Rob. This has been really helpful information. I'm really excited that we have this opportunity to promote the expansion of the advanced child tax credit payments. Before this webinar started, Rachel, Rob, and I were talking, and Rachel, you were telling me that to believe that 4.1 million families may move out of poverty because of the expansion of this child tax credit, which you know, that's remarkable. It's really exciting, and we want people to take advantage of this. Put you both on the spot for 1 second, but what are the main take-home points before we conclude the webinar today that you want people to know?
I want people to know that if you're a single parent, you're making under 75 or around 75, and if you're a family and you're making under 150,000, you should definitely, and you haven't filed your taxes, use this tool right away to get your monthly child tax payments. Because this is it's a really exciting program. Like I said, you're looking at $300 a month or more per kid. on an ongoing basis, as long as you use the NonFiler tool to complete the application.
That's great. And I think for me, the main take home that's super exciting is it's okay if you as a parent do not have a social security number. You just need an ITIN, and your child needs a social security number, but the adult does not need a social security number in order to receive these child payments. And that's really neat.
That's great. And so just to cover some of the basics too about this NonFiler tool. So the people that should use this NonFiler tool are people that were generally not required to file a 2020 tax return, did not file one, and don't plan to for whatever reason, and they have their main home in the United States for more than half of the year. Those folks can use this NonFiler tool. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
But if you've already filed for 2020 tax, for the 2020 tax year, you shouldn't use this NonFiler tool again.
What you should do first is go to the CTC update portal and access that and check to see if you were found eligible or ineligible for the CTC program already. Perhaps you were found eligible and they are sending the money to the wrong bank account or an old bank account or something like that. There's a number of errors that could have happened. So definitely, if you're confused whether you are eligible or not, and you did file your 2020 taxes, then go ahead and check the portal before you do anything else.
And I also, in addition to the resources you both pointed out too, I also just recommend the IRS website in general has a lot of helpful FAQs on the child tax credit. And something you should be aware of, we're recording this on July 23rd of 2021. This information is subject to change as the months go on here with the advance payments. So always check the IRS website for the most recent information. And it's possible we'll be coming back to you for future live webinars on this topic as well. Rachel, do you have something else that you wanted to add?
Nope, that's it. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. We really appreciate it. Have a good day.